Hello and welcome to Class 10 History online video lectures. Dear children, today from the Contemporary History section, we will do a chapter on the United Nations Organization. And the good news for you children is that from this particular chapter, the syllabus has been further reduced, and I will just read out what exactly you are expected to study for your examination of 2021. So let me start out today's session by reading out the reduced syllabus. From the UNO, only topics that you are required to study will be first, objectives of the UN. So in your textbook, it starts with the background, the causes, the principles, the objectives, but please make sure to cancel out those topics which are irrelevant or are not required. From the UNO, only thing you are supposed to study will be objectives of UN. So you can tick it off, objectives of UN. Then coming to the organs of the United Nations, there are many organs, but only 3 are mentioned in your syllabus. The 3 organs are namely General Assembly, Security Council and International Court of Justice. Again, let me remind you children, regarding the organs of the United Nations, you will come across the Secretariat, the Economic and Social Council. You will also come across the Trusteeship Council. These are the other organs as well. But only 3 are written in your syllabus: the Security Council, the General Assembly and the International Court of Justice. Now, regarding these organs, earlier you had to study composition of the organs, or you also had to study the functions of the organs, but this time it is mentioned names only. It is mentioned names only, meaning you just need to learn the names of the 3 organs. Next we come to agencies of United Nations. The third topic is agencies of United Nations. There are many agencies, but again for you children, only 3 are mentioned here: UNICEF, WHO and UNESCO. And regarding these agencies, again it is strictly written that you have to learn only the names and abbreviations, the expansion of the abbreviations, meaning you just need to know which are these 3 agencies. And probably you will get to expand the abbreviations like WHO or UNESCO, or it could be for UNICEF. So that is it from the reduced syllabus, which means we are left with very little topic to study from this chapter. So let's start with the objectives of United Nations. In your textbooks, the objectives of United Nations is there in page 234. Page 234. And if you look at the objectives, it is all numbered. So you could get it in the compulsory section for 2 marks, where you have to mention the objectives of the UN. Or you could also get it in the structured question, where you could have the abbreviations for 1 mark, or probably to mention the organ for another 2 marks, or again to mention the objectives for 3 marks. So please prepare at least 4 objectives of the UN. Let's start with the first one. The objectives and purpose of the UN are introduced in the preamble and stated in Article 1 of the UN Charter, and they are as follows. The first one is very easy: to maintain international peace and security. The foremost reason, the main reason for which this organization was formed was to create international peace and security. Because we all know that after the First World War also, the League of Nations was formed. This was also an organization to check the different countries from becoming aggressive. But the failure, the weakness of the League of Nations led to the outbreak of a Second World War. In the Second World War also, a lot of destruction was seen against the human beings, damages of property, all right, damage to life. And because of that, once again in 1945, the UNO or United Nations Organization was formed. So, your first objective will be to promote what kind of peace? International peace and security. So, your keyword will be international peace and security. Next, we go to objective number 2, to develop friendly relations among nations. Because the enmity, the competition, the rivalry was seen as one of the reasons behind the Second World War. Now, most of the countries realized that the outbreak of Third World War could be the end of the human race also. With this thought in mind, they came up with another objective, that as far as possible, countries, nations, member states all over the world will try to develop healthy and very friendly relations among them. The third one is to achieve international cooperation, international economic, social, cultural and humanitarian problems, to address the world or global problems as your own, to have this system of exchanging of cultures, exchanging of ideas, to help each other in times of need, to respect each other no matter how big or small your country is, how rich or poor your country is, but the fundamental objective of UNO is to create or to achieve international cooperation. Friendship is already there, but in times of need, that cooperation should also be existent. This is the third objective. Fourthly, to be a center for coordinating activities of nations for the attainment of common goals. Most of the countries after the Second World War were facing almost the same kind of problems. Problems relating to health, problems relating to the failure of certain kind of economies. And for this, and it is not that the problems would come to an end forever, but the UNO, the member states of the UNO, they took care of this particular, you can say, agenda, that in future, this sort of cooperation would be necessary, that each member state would come and help each other, cooperate with each other. At the end of the day, it would be for the attainment of a common goal. And what is the goal? We want international peace and security all over the world. So out of the 4 objectives, please make sure that you learn everything up, because you have to prepare it from the viewpoint of a structured question, where it can come for 3 marks also or 4 marks, and you will be rewarded 1 mark for each point. However, later, the UN also, they reviewed their objectives and felt the necessity to include 3 more new objectives. The 3 more new objectives are, you can write it down, all right, or what we call as the 3D, the 3D objective. D, the first D starting from D for decolonize, D for disarm, D-I-S-A-R-M, disarm, and again D standing for develop. Alright, so again I am repeating the 3D objective. D standing for, you can write decolonize, D for disarm, and D for develop. So these are the 3 new objectives of the UN. So while you are reading the question paper, please be very sure whether it is just written objectives or it is written the new objectives. However, when if it's just objectives, then you can mention the 4 objectives that I explained to you a while ago, alright? And if it's new objectives, then remember the clue is the 3 Ds. Now moving to the organs of the UNO, there are 6 organs. There are 6 organs of the UNO. The first one will be the General Assembly. The second is the Security Council. The third one is International Court of Justice. The fourth one is Economic and Social Council. The fifth one is Trusteeship Council. And the sixth one is the Secretariat. So we have 6 different organs, out of which you are supposed to know the names of only 3. So very easy for you children. First three organs, remember: General Assembly, Security Council and International Court of Justice. So if you do get questions, now if you look at your previous year's questions, you will just come across questions like write down the composition, or what is the or what is the executive functions of a General Assembly, or what is the function of Security Council. That way, function and composition are the 2 main questions which normally come from the organs of the UNO. But this year for you children, it might just be name the organs of UNO and please mention 1, 2, 3. Write down 1, 2, 3, number it and just write down the names: General Assembly, Security Council and International Court of Justice. Now moving to agencies, again it has become very easy for you people. Moving to the agencies, there are many agencies, but you have to focus on just the UNICEF, the UNESCO and WHO, the organization or the agency which is playing a big role today. So starting with UNICEF, what do you need to know? Only the names and expansion of the abbreviation. Now UNICEF is one agency where children get confused. Sometimes you might get a structured question on UNICEF where it is written, expand the term UNICEF. And children, they start the old method of U standing for United, N standing for nations, I standing for international, and they will go further. But this UNICEF earlier actually stood for United Nations Children's Emergency Fund. C for children, E for emergency, because it was formed right after the Second World War, and F standing for fund. But now the emergency is over. The post-Second World War period is over. That is why later this term was changed to United Nations Children's Fund. 2, you can say letters over there, the I and E, you need not expand. Most children still do that. They're looking for U, N, what does I stand for? International, E stands for emergency. It's very simple. You just have to write 4 words. United Nations Children's Fund. That's it for UNICEF. Coming to WHO, very easy. All of you know it. It stands for World Health Organization. And UNESCO, a bit long, but while you are studying, make sure you study it, write it vertically down, alright? And then you start writing down each and every, abbreviation, like U stands for United, N stands for Nation, UN will always stand for United Nations, E will stand for Educational, E stands for Educational, S stands for Scientific, C for Cultural Organization. So the full form will be United Nations Educational, alright, Scientific and Cultural Organization. So that is all that you need to study from the chapter on UNO. Let's do a quick recap of this chapter. We started with the objectives, alright, to develop friendly relations, to maintain international peace and security, to work for international cooperation, to work for the attainment of common goals, the 3 Ds, coming to the organs, General Assembly, Security Council and the International Court of Justice. And last but not the least, the agencies, UNICEF standing for United Nations Children's Fund. WHO stands for World Health Organization. UNESCO stands for United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization. So that is it, children, from the United Nations chapter. Thank you very much for watching.